Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm good too, thank you. What is your name?
My name is Laura.
It's nice to meet you, Laura. I'm Richard and I'm from Brazil.
Nice to meet you, Richard.
Nice to meet you too. Where are you from?
I'm from the United States. I live in a state called Minnesota.
Oh, Minnesota. Great. In the north, right?
Yes, by
It's in the
Canada.
north, isn't it? Yeah, by Canada. Great. Have you ever been to Canada?
I have, yes.
Oh, great. So a lot of as it's close to Canada, so you can go there by car, right?
Yeah, it takes, from where I live, maybe 6 hours by car,
Oh,
straight shot
great.
up. So it's
Awesome.
possible. I don't do it normally, but I could.
I see. Great. Uh, and how about Cambly? How long have you been here for? I've been here for 2 years actually. And what about you?
Just 6 months. I'm still pretty new.
6 months.
Yeah.
Great. Are you enjoying it?
I like it. It's nice. I am a college student, so I'm getting my master's degree right now. So it's nice to have a change of pace.
Oh, awesome. What do you study in
I,
college?
yeah, I study museum education. So I was in my undergrad, I studied political science,
All right.
constitutionalism, and teaching English as a foreign language. Very
Awesome.
strange. Um, And then I was an English teacher for 2 years, and I decided I like teaching, but maybe I want to try teaching in a museum.
Great. Yeah, I like going to the museum. And it's so interesting to go there and see all the exhibits. It's so awesome. I like history, you know. I
Definitely the
used
same.
to I used to read a lot of history science history before, but as we get older and we get busier, I'm not reading a lot about history, but I like it, especially because there is a phrase that says if you would like to know the future, study the past.
Yes,
So history helps us with that, right?
certainly does. Yes, it does. Um,
Great.
I also like the quote: "If we do not learn the history, we are doomed to repeat it." I,
Yeah,
I think that's true
exactly.
too.
Yeah, that's a true phrase, especially because we have made so many mistakes. We have made so many mistakes in the past, and it's so important nowadays to know all of it in order to not make them again, right?
Yeah,
And yeah, it's a great quote. And English is so great because right now we are communicating in English, and it's so interesting that you like being an English teacher because I I have a goal to teach English in the future.
very
You know,
cool.
yeah. Some of my friends already ask me a lot of questions about grammar and things like that, and I like to help them out because it also helps me to keep practicing, keep studying. Sometimes I don't know the answer,
Yeah,
and I have to look it up. So it's awesome. It helps me a lot.
I definitely have found being an English, because I teach English as a foreign language. I'm not so much like a high school English teacher in America. But I definitely have had moments where I have students that go, but why? And then I have to sit back and go, ha. And I've learned so much about the English language just having to teach it and being confronted with these phases of like, well, why does English do this, not this? And I'm like, oh. And it makes you realize like cultural context too, which I really like. Because
Yeah.
in English we have like should versus ought, and
Yeah.
they can be used interchangeably, but there's like this very cultural like ought is very strong and you rarely use it because it comes across very like you ought to do this versus you should do this.
Yeah, and those nuances are so important to know, especially as a non-native speaker. Sometimes I don't get it. I feel like, oh my gosh, those things sound all the same to me. And it's great to have a native speaker by me to explain to me those things. It's so great. And English is a passion of mine. I don't know why I like English so much. I think it's because English is my second best language. And when I started studying English, I was like, oh, okay, I know I need to study English. Everybody knows. Let's study it. But eventually, when I started studying the grammar and learning with people, a lot of people trying to speak English, I have been feeling so excited.
It's good.
It's so great. English connects us in a certain extent, right? Because I could talk to people from Korea, from Japan, from China, and we use English as a mean of communication. It's so great.
It certainly is a lot of fun, and I really
Yeah, it has.
enjoy learning about another culture. Um, and you know, like being a Japanese speaker, having lived in Japan.
Oh,
Sometimes,
great. You have?
yeah, I did. That's where I taught English. I taught English in Japan. Um, so I find a lot of love for it, but at the same time, a lot of appreciation for how you have to train your brain and how language is very cultural. Because sometimes students would ask me a question. I was like, I've never heard of these words, and I'd find out they're like British English or South African English or like things like that. And I was like, huh.
Yeah, and as you have lived in Japan before, so do you know how to speak Japanese fluently?
Not fluently. I'm pretty intermediate. I'm trying to build myself back up to more fluency because I would like to continue. It's definitely, I want to be a second language speaker. I don't want to just have one. So that's a goal of mine. So I have all my textbooks that I study. Um, and
Great.
I find a lot of joy when I was living there and I'd have family visit that I could help translate and I could help kind of buffer if they wanted. I would have to say, I think for me, the part that I learned the fastest and the best was like restaurant menus and food words the fastest. Like my grammar's not good, but my vocabulary when it comes to food is really strong.
It's better.
And
Yeah, in my case, I think my vocabulary is best when I talk about English.
it's like a topic
So
you get into.
we always have a perfect topic that we talk better,
Yeah,
right?
mine is definitely dogs. Because where I lived in a prefecture called Akita, and they're famous for a breed of dog called the Akita dog. And I actually have an Akita dog. So the joke, like for me, I would always talk to people about how much I loved Akita dogs. That was like a topic I could go on for days. And when I was at my school, the person sitting next to me was the lunch lady. So I always talked to her about the lunch, and she would teach me how to read the menu, and she would teach me how to
Great.
cook the food.
Awesome.
So I really am good at that. And coming from a family that really enjoys food, it was so much fun when they came to visit to sit down at a restaurant and be like, oh, this is this and this. Like it wasn't as daunting, I guess. 'Cause, you know, restaurants, even in America, sometimes you sit down and you're like, what is any of this? I don't know what this food is.
Yeah, and especially when you go to a restaurant and okay, when we have the name of the plates, but unfortunately, sometimes we don't know the ingredients. We know what the the meal is, however, we don't know the ingredients. And when we order the food, sometimes we don't like something,
Like
and
shows up.
it's so embarrassing. Yeah, great. So you are able to understand almost all kinds of ingredients in Japanese.
Yeah, and I love cooking, so I spent a lot of time at the grocery store. I spent a lot of
Ah,
time
great.
researching ingredients. And, you know, my big sister, she is allergic to peanuts and soy. So, you know, in Japan, that can be kind of hard to avoid. So, like, I learned pretty fast how to tell people deadly allergy, will die.
I see. Yeah, that's so important. Yeah, people who have allergies to some foods, we have to be concerned about that. So it's so important. You can warn them, right?
Yeah, it was always fun. And then when we traveled to France, I spoke enough French to be able to tell the person like she has this allergy. So I love traveling. I love language. I'm not like, to me, I think
So
the
do
more
I.
languages I learn, the less perfect I am at English. Because sometimes I like,
Really? You feeling that
yeah,
way?
because like there's certain phrases in different languages that I've studied. Like I've studied Spanish, French, and Japanese, and I'm pretty intermediate in all of them. I'm not fluent, but in certain languages you can express yourself in ways that you can't in English.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So
Sometimes in the beginning, I was trying to use the same sentences that I would use in Portuguese, but it didn't work out. People were like, "What? What are you saying?" So yeah, people can understand me, but that sounds weird, right?
yeah, or like I'll go to a place with like a family member and something will happen and I'll like do a Japanese expression for like whatever just happened, like either if it's shock or whatever, and they're like, "What just came out of your mouth?"
Yeah, and on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate Japanese?
For what?
For example, the difficulty of it.
Oh my gosh, I think it's really daunting to start. So I think when you start off, I think it's going to be like a 7 or 8. Because you're like being like Latin language speakers, we have similar enough alphabets that we can like
Yeah,
get through it. But you're basically having to relearn the entire alphabet and sounds.
yeah. Oh my gosh, it's
Yeah, but I
challenging.
think once you get the alphabet down and the basic writing like hiragana and katakana, then I think it starts moving towards like a 6, 7, and then once you get more kanji, it starts getting easier. Like the more you build, but it's like that first hump of getting over it. It's very challenging. Because my sister's now trying to also learn Japanese, and she
Great.
struggles so much with the characters. And I know that struggle, but I can't like take my knowledge and just give it, you know?
Yeah. Unfortunately, we can't transfer knowledge.
Yeah, so while she's sitting there, she's like, "Oh my god, how do you even know what that says?" And I'm like, "I don't want to discourage you because sometimes we'll study next to each other and she'll look at my books and she'll look at hers and she's like, I don't know if I'll ever get there." I'm like, "You will. You just have to get past this hump."
Yeah, and people, for example, in English, people who don't know how to speak English, they don't have the ability to understand native speakers, you guys, native speakers. Sometimes they say, "How do you understand them?" And I feel like, oh my gosh, I just do, It's something natural. So the more we study it, the more used to it we get, right? And it's so interesting that when I started realizing that I was understanding native speakers, I was so happy. And I can't tell, I think nobody can tell, oh, for example, on that day, I started understanding native speakers, anything like that. It's so natural. I don't know,
Like one day you
but
just
it's
realize
great.
I can do
Yeah,
it.
okay, understand them. Yeah, great. Sometimes when we start studying the language, it feels like every word is new, so we don't understand almost anything. But eventually, day by day, we understand the one word, then we understand another word, and then we have a bunch of words that we can talk about,
And
right?
we have our topics that we can stick to. We're still
Yeah, we
picked
can
up.
stick to it. Yeah. So, as you said, you have studied politics. It's a topic that I struggle to speak in English.
I think
That I
we
struggle with
struggle.
that. Yeah, but it's something that deals with
Mhm.
opinion. So sometimes we need to have a lot of knowledge and information on those situations. So yeah. Oh my God,
I
my
know
time
it
is
is. I was
over.
just
Thank you so
thinking. Well, I
much.
hope we can talk again soon, Richard.
Yeah, we can.
You
Take
too.
care.
Bye
Okay.
now.
Bye bye.